Hi everybody, Rick Goling here to talk about Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon. All right, we are halfway through the book. We've finished book 1, or we will be this week. When you finish chapter 9, that concludes book 1. It ends with an incident where Makinded, Milkman, and Guitar try to steal a treasure from Pilate. I'll let you guys see how that plays out, but I think that's offered as a kind of fake adventure, a ludicrous adventure, something to, you know, almost deride it or mock it. It's not the real thing. The real adventure is going to be book 2. And Milkman is going to take off by himself. I think that's absolutely essential. That the real quest is one that he alone goes on. Okay. Now, you have a worksheet to do with this video. There are going to be 4 questions on the worksheet. Let me quickly set you up for those so you can listen for them. What's the word acrid mean? Why does that apply to the Makinded household? It's used on page 180 if you're looking. 2, the old quote, revenge is a dish best served cold. Very true, but why in the Makinded household, and maybe even in Pilate's household, is that not working out well for anybody? 3, what's the name of the group that Guitar is in, the secret society that's so dangerous? And 4, what's the famous philosophy that he's obviously using and the whole group of men he's involved with are using in these crimes that they commit? When we get there, I'll talk about it and you can listen for it. So those will be the 4 things you'll address on your worksheet. All right. I thought this would be a good time to look back and look forward. Why is it that I would argue that Milkman has come to the end of something here in this city? I told you guys the city might be Detroit. I actually think that might be wrong. I think that Toni Morrison decided to have the city resemble Chicago and Detroit in certain ways. They both have a south side. There's certain ways in which it feels like it could be either. But I think it's supposed to be a slightly smaller city like Toledo. And it's kind of typical for magical realism that places exist in a real way, but she changes key things so that we can't try to look at it for it on a real map. All right. The household of Makinded. There, things seem to me to have gone sour. Something's not right there. And the word acrid, which is used to describe the household, would suggest that something smells. I think the word acrid describing like a mouse got behind the refrigerator and perished, and all that remains is the smell. Right? Something's gone off. Um, that would be typical of this very nice household where everything looks good on the surface, but we know that the marriage itself has gone off. Nor do either of Milkman's parents seem likely to me to try to work towards a better future. They seem committed to their unhappiness, both of them. It's like that poem that we shared about Because It Is Bitter, where this creature in the desert was eating his own heart. And when he was asked about why he was eating his own heart with so much fervor, said, I like it because it is bitter and because it is my heart. Ruth certainly seems to be like that, and so does Makinded. This is where the quote, revenge is a dish best served cold, comes into play. Because obviously that seems to be what each of them is thinking, right? Um, I'll just I'll remind her each day, how much I hate her more than she probably hates me. Well, that is a very unhappy situation to be in. Is it a case where if you're going to do this thing of serving revenge up in slabs every day for your spouse, you should consider whether over the course of years you're not committing yourself to that same unhappy diet, right? Isn't that what's kind of going on here? There's just this, they fuel one another's dislike for one another. Um, Obviously, the kind of situation where Milkman has spent years ignoring it, you know, sort of, except for that one incident, the one fight with his father. But otherwise, being in a kind of frozen stasis, uh, not moving forward. So that's a good reason he has to move forward. Hagar. All right, it looks like Hagar is no longer going to continue to try to kill Milkman. Again, that part of the story was probably supposed to be seen in a little bit as a bit of farce. First time you read it, you just want her to not get away with it. On rereading, the story changes a bit more. You begin to say, what is she really trying to communicate? Hagar is saying, yes, I could have been the love of your life, and you could have been the love of mine. That's what you pretended to be for many years. By saying that I can't be for such artificial reasons as it's how other people would judge us, and these things that you're bringing into a personal relationship that seem so impersonal, right? The way he tries to almost dismiss her as he would a servant, or as if it was a law office and she was a law clerk. And thank you for your years of service, but we don't need you anymore. Um, and the kind of using respectability against Pilate's household seems to me kind of absurd effort, right? He enjoys all the pleasures that come from that environment where there's, excuse me, no shame. And then suddenly he's going to come and act shameful in this very rich boy, spoiled prince manner. So again, Hagar was one more reason for Milkman to depart. She's a reminder of how much he did not grow up in his 20s. We see him age 31 here, um, more infantile in some ways than he was when he was younger. He had a seriousness to him when he was younger that seems to have diminished over the years. You do see this seriousness in Guitar. Guitar is the character among the younger generation who seems to have grown up, right? Gotten really serious, but maybe too serious. He's part of a group. They are called 7 Days. That's one of the questions. Uh, and the principle that they use as the last question is eye for an eye violence. They seek out stories in the newspaper about black people who were murdered unjustly, innocent people by white people, and where the white people got away with it. Maybe, especially if it was in the South, the white people were even able to brag about it or display the body in a horrifying or taunting way. This was a concern of the era. Remember, our story is set in the early decades of the 20th century when lynchings were at their peak in number, um, not exclusively in the South. And lynchings were supposed to be a flagrant violation of our legal system, right? They're saying we're taking the law into our own hands. Think of that George Bellows print I showed you guys. The law is too slow. Um, the view today, the correct view, I believe, is that the Ku Klux Klan and other white people who lynched people were terrorists, domestic terrorists. You guys will see that basically that is the direction that Guitar is going. He says, fine, then fight terror with terror, eye for an eye. If they kill a black person, then we're going to seek out an innocent white victim. They have to be innocent because otherwise there wouldn't be true balance here. And murder that person. And they do it in a very, very secretive way so that they can't all be caught different days of the week. And Guitar is Sunday. So, heavy stuff to think about because Milkman, of course, is not drawn towards that, but a lot of the reason he's not is that nothing in his life um, has allowed him to see the real world. He's able to avoid looking at it too harshly because of his privileged childhood. So, second half, very different. Um, in some ways, it's going to be closer to almost like dream analysis because the mythic part is going to be surrounding us in so many scenes. And the characters are going to seem stranger and a little bit otherworldly. But all the more reason than to make sure that we have a good grasp of book one. before we move forward. So make sure you stay apace this week with Song of Solomon. The readings are more bearable than last week, where they got so long, and I know chapters 3 and 4 were really rough at that. So I hope this video helps a little bit to put things in perspective. Think of it as two households, um, and brother and sister in warring camps. And Milkman is this figure who needs to, in a sense, mend some of these divisions. He can't do it there on the scene, right? He needs to remove himself from the battlefield, so to speak, and seek a quest in another place, a place that's still attached to their family, which is further towards the past, where the family came from, Pennsylvania and Virginia. We'll see. All right, that's enough for now.